What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Higher Being Society podcast. Of course, you already know I'm your host, Bree Renee, and I'm really excited to get into today's episode. Today's topic is going to be God's plan versus manifestation. I really wanted to have this conversation because it was during the pandemic. I just started asking myself all these questions like, am I really manifesting this? Or what if God already had this in his plan for me? Am I taking too much credit for things that God already, planned out way before I was even born? Or do I actually have an active part in manifesting my life or the things that I want? And so I got two very special guests coming on today. My first guest is the manifestation queen herself. You already know, one of my great friends, B.Simone, the comedian and actress.
Yes, baby girl. Hi, Bree. I'm so proud of you in this podcast. It's so cool. I love
Thank,
higher being.
thank you, girl. Thank you, baby girl. Thank you for joining us. B.Simone, tell us a little bit about who you are and what manifestation means to you.
Yeah, you know what? It's crazy that we're having this topic because I literally saw on Instagram, on it was a meme or something that said, "See, we're different. I believe in God. Y'all believe in manifestation." To me, it is the same damn thing. Though in the word, I was raised Christian, and I'm more spiritual than religious. I don't really, dig too deep into religion. But to me, in the word, it says there's power in the tongue. That's all manifestation is. Speaking and believing and focusing on what you want. It's not like I'm sitting here worshiping, a statue and I'm manifesting through spirits or I literally, the manifestation to me is power in the tongue. That's it. Like it's in the word. And God gives you said is manifestation or is it God's plan? Like God gives you freedom of choice, just with anything. He gives you free will. So he says your tongue is powerful. So whatever you are speaking over to your life, whatever you believe, whatever, you are manifesting, that is how your life will plan out and roll out. So I believe it goes hand in hand. I don't think it's like a new religion
Yeah.
so I think it's hand in hand with how I was raised, and I was raised Christian.
What do you think the first thing is that you noticed you manifested? I'm sure we probably manifested things in our life before we really
Yeah.
knew what manifestation was. But what was the first thing you was like, dang, I think I willed that into my life?
Noticed. Ooh. Probably when I said I wanted to do arenas. I was like, I am not doing comedy clubs anymore. Only like of course I still on tour. I do comedy clubs. I was like, I'm not only doing comedy clubs in 2020. 2019, I will be in arenas, and then I got called for the Martin tour. And another cool thing with my manifestation, I posted Jada Pinkett. I was like, I will work with Jada Pinkett. Y'all tag her below. She didn't even see the post. Like, still to this day, didn't see it because I ended up archiving it after 2 weeks later after I posted that. I got the call to host Will Smith's birthday. So it was just like putting that energy out, speaking it over your life, and you start to see the blessings slowly flowing in and happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember being a part of your life when you were like, I really want to work with Will and Jada, and then it
Like,
happened
what?
so quick. Do you
So
think
quick.
do you think there is, being that it happened so fast, do you feel like there is a time frame or like a way, a formula to manifesting things? Like, first
I
you do
think there
this.
is a formula, but I don't think there's a time frame. I
Okay.
think it's just literally manifestation to me is having faith. That's literally it. For speaking, like you said, it's in the word. Speak. There's power in the tongue. Having faith, you put that together. You speak and believe. That's manifesting. It's very, very simple. I think the formula is starting with your mindset, having a positive mindset, speaking positive things over your life. Energy cannot be destroyed; it can only be transferred. You know, and so whatever you say, it's out there. It's not like those words just magically go away. Like it's out there, and it's energy you're putting out. So you want to make sure you're positive. You make sure you're positive, speaking positive things over your life. It's just like daily affirmations, and it slowly starts to become your reality.
Right. Okay. So on that note, we're gonna take a break. Of course, y'all already know I went out into these ATL streets at the mall and hollered at y'all. And I asked y'all, what is manifestation to y'all? What do you think manifesting is and how do you go about it? So we're going to play some of them clips because you're going to be laughing at some of these answers. We'll be right back. Hey, y'all, I'm standing here with Queen Danielle, and I want to ask you, what does manifestation mean to you?
Basically putting out what you want to do and trying to accomplish what you want to do. Like,
What?
keep saying it that you'll believe it pretty much.
Okay, what's the last thing you've manifested?
Good grades.
Okay, that's a good thing. Congratulations, girl.
Thank you.
I was about to high five you, but you know, COVID. Yeah. What's up, y'all? You already know I'm here with my phone. Wow. What's up, Wow?
What's up?
So, what does manifestation mean to you?
Like growth. Like, and then speaking shit into existence, like, you know, it can manifest. How some niggas be around here capping like they doing a lot of shit on the internet that they not. But then you end up looking, turning into some shit sometimes. So you manifest.
They manifesting the bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay. See where you was going.
You know, sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it.
That's
so
what
manifest.
That's what fake it till you make it really came from. Manifesting. I see where you going with that. All right, guys. So we are back, and of course, I told y'all we had two special guests today. So I had to bring on my homie, also one of B.Simone's great friends. So we've had conversations like this before, and her name is Megan, and I'm gonna let her introduce herself. But I wanted to bring her on because when I tell you, Megan always got a word, and always got not only a word but a Bible scripture to go with it, in Corinthians
To back it up.
Yeah, so I had to bring her on to give us more of a aspect from the Bible, as well as her being, I would say, I'm a Christian too, but I feel like Megan is deeper in her journey as a Christian than I am. So maybe she can give us some insight. So Megan, hey girl.
Hey, hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Bree, for inviting me. I'm like super stoked. I love conversations like this. And it's conversations we have when we're together all the time, right? So I'm super excited to be a part.
Yeah, and just for our audience out there, just know there is no right or wrong answer. These are just our opinions and viewpoints. So don't be like nobody claiming to be a pastor or
Right.
any of these things, but we're just giving you from our journey, our experiences, things that we've learned along the way. So Megan, of course, I gotta ask you, what does manifestation mean to you? What does that look like?
Man, manifestation, what does that mean to me? What does that look like to me? It's really aligning myself with God's plan and purpose for my life and in submitting my yes to him. I think that's the season where I'm at right now, where that's what manifestation looks like to me, is submitting my yes to God. And then when I do that, and I'm doing that with intention every single day, I get to see all the beautiful things that he has for me come to life. And it starts by submitting my yes to him. So that's kind of what that looks like for me right now.
That's powerful. Submitting your yes to him. Like that's letting God know you have full reign over my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will. So you are incorporating his plan in that submission. Like, hey, God,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
got a plan for me, and I'm letting you know I'm completely okay with that plan, and then
Yeah.
I work with you.
Yeah. It's mainly, you relinquishing your say so, your will, right? Your ideas of what you want, and saying, you know what, God, you know what's best. Like his word says that before he formed us in our mother's womb, he knew us, right? So before we were ever even a thing, he already knew and had purpose and plans and desires for our lives. And when you submit your yes to him, you're saying, I fully trust you. Whatever you have planned, I trust you, and I don't have to be worried about it. And I think that's the main thing. And making that decision every single day is and practicing that every day and submitting that yes every single day. That's important.
Do you guys think that so God has the plan for us right before we were even formed in our mother's womb? Do you think that our desires might change the course of our path as far as either in our choice making or in God's, like, do you think God ever changes the plan?
Oh, go ahead.
Go
I was
ahead.
saying, I think the plan stays the same. It's just God gives us free will. We can go off the plan. We can get distracted. We can become of the world. We can, the enemy got a plan too. So let's not forget that. There's good and bad. There's negative, positive. There's. So, I think God's plan stays the same for us, but we're trying to figure it out, as we're going on this path. He already knows, but we're trying to figure out the purpose, the plan, and get on the right path and the right, track with him. So I don't think his plan changes, but I do think we have, free will, and we be fucking it up. We out here just like, God is like, that is not the plan. And it's like, okay, but I'm giving you free will. So go on, you're going to learn,
Yeah, I think B, to piggyback off on that, I really realized this in the shower like the other day. I was like, I feel like it's just like in acting. So we learned this in acting class. There are no right or wrong choices, just more effective ones. So with God's plan, like you said, I don't think his plan or the end result changes. It's just he gives us the free will to be like, do you want to take road A or do you want to take road B? And road A might be an easier road, right? But we something down road B and we'll be like, okay, no, I want to go down B. It's like, all right, you might still get to the end result, but was that the most effective?
Right.
Best for everybody involved in your, surroundings and certain like that, things like that. What do you think?
I think it was funny because one day I was driving. This was when I lived in Ohio, and I believe God impressed this on my heart really strong. I was driving somewhere and I needed directions, right? But the way that I was going was the same way that I went every day for work. And so because I was just in that habit, I missed an exit because I wasn't paying attention to my directions, right? And so the directions, you know how it changes your route. Now it has to adjust to get you to your destination. And I believe it's the same way with God. It's like if you take your eye off of your directions, right, you'll miss an exit, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to get to your destination. It might tag on a couple minutes. It might take you a different route.
It might be harder.
Down a different road, but it's still going to get you to your destination. And I believe that God ultimately has an end result for us. He has an ultimate plan. And if we're not careful, sometimes we will delay that if we go off route. You know what I'm saying? He probably has a route in his head, like this is what this is supposed to look like. But if we have free will, so we might turn left when we should have turned right. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get to your destination. It just means that you took maybe a different path. And there's 100 different ways to get to Lenox Mall, right? You can get to Lenox Mall 100 different ways. It doesn't mean that you can't get there. It just means that you might take a different route.
I love that. So B, you have coined yourself the manifestation queen, and you went through a lot with your book and releasing your book on how you manifested everything. How did that come about? Like the idea that you like, hey, I have manifested this. Maybe I am the manifestation queen, and how you incorporated that with your brand.
Well, what started with me with manifestation and even saying the word manifest, I didn't even know. I feel like I've been doing it my whole life, like just being positive and saying things. And I want to do this. You naturally do it when you're trying to be positive. I didn't know what I was doing. The book, The Secret, it was a book and a documentary that I watched. And it was just really basically focusing, like you said, to me, manifestation is the same thing as having faith and power in the tongue. That's literally what manifestation is. There's power in the tongue, have faith, put those together, you're manifesting. So when I watched the documentary, The Secret, I was like, I really started to understand and hone in on how powerful my words and my thoughts were and just the energy I put out. And I started manifesting certain things like becoming a millionaire or just different goals that I really focused on and honed in on and spoke over and wrote down. And it's really just focus, and I was like, this is crazy, and I wanted to tell my story about it. So I had different chapters, manifestation after the heartbreak, how I got through that, and manifestation your finances, and just what worked for me in those certain categories. So yeah, I just shared that.
Okay, how was your experience? I know you was a lot of backlash from your book, but after doing because sometimes we be having the best intention in the world to help people or share our journey, like you said, to somebody else to be like, hey, if I did it, you can do it. Here's what I did. After you having that as your friend, I know that was your intention going into it. And then receiving a lot of negative backlash. How did that make you feel about manifesting in a whole or even sharing that with people?
You know what? I didn't look at it at that. I don't think it had anything to do with like manifesting or like, oh my God, I did this wrong. I didn't manifest this. Like, that's exactly what I was over there praying about. But I think I learned after, when you're in the storm, you don't know what the fuck is going on. I was so sad. I was so upset. And I felt like I was giving people like a part of me and people didn't trust me anymore. That's really what broke my heart. Like, you talking all this and you didn't even write the book. It's like, let me explain what happened. But outside of that, I think just when you're in the storm, you're super upset, you're super sad. But now, fast forward almost a year and a half later, I'm like, I see you, God. I understand why moments like that had to happen. He removed people out of my life. He pushed me into a better businesswoman, a better entrepreneur. Slow down. It's like checking your work. Like, slow down. Like, everything is not a rush. Everything is not a quick dollar. Everything is not when you want to have longevity, you can take your time and do certain things the right way. I learned so much throughout that devastation because I was devastated. Megan always tells the story, I will never forget, like, just how I felt in that moment. At first she didn't even know it was that bad. I was devastated. Like, it was horrible. But fast forward to now, I get why that had to happen, to remove people, to wake me up, to push me into being a better entrepreneur, businesswoman, and making better decisions as an adult, as a CEO. So I don't think it messed up at all. And I think certain things we do manifest unintentionally, even the negative things, like for example, he always lied, he always cheated. Well, you're always saying that. You a nothing ass nigga. You're a liar. You're a cheat.
All men ain't shit.
Niggas ain't shit, right? It's like you're bringing that upon your life. Like, watch your mouth. And sometimes our thoughts are negative. You just don't want them to outweigh the positive. So I don't regret that experience at all. Honestly, I don't.
Right. Megan, you were on her team at that time. And of course, being one of her best friends, what was that like for you to witness? The backlash from people on social media, but even being as a member, on the inside as a team member. Like, how did you feel going through that?
In moments like that, if you are a friend of mine or you've been around me, you know how very protective I am. I'm extremely protective over the people that I love, and I'm very like, I'm a fierce protector. So all I wanted to do was fight every single person in the shade room comments. Like, pull up, I'm gonna fight you. Like, it wasn't even like, it was just like, I'm gonna fight you. Like, I'm gonna fight all of you, and I don't care. I don't, like, y'all don't know her. So it was like very hard to not respond to every person that said something, right? That was very, very hard for me because I tell Braylon all the time, like,
I don't do this internet shit.
I don't do this internet stuff. I don't do the social media stuff. I don't do that. I'm a real person and I don't have a filter like that. So it was very hard not to, that was very hard. But the hardest thing on me was, she called me one day and I just cannot get this sound in that tone out of my head. But she was just like, I don't want to open my eyes. Like, I just don't want to open my eyes. Like, I'm scared if I open my eyes, I'm gonna have to go through something else again. And I was all the way in
thing
Ohio.
After another.
Yeah. And I couldn't do anything about it. And I'm not I'm a mother, so I'm a fixer naturally, right? I just fix it. Whatever has to be done, I do it. And I couldn't fix that. And that was hard. It was like, forget forget all the other stuff. I could not fix her brokenness. And that was hard for me. I couldn't physically be there. We were in the middle of COVID, everyone was quarantined. And that was just really hard, especially because I've known Braylon since we were 12 and she's never a person that has ever been in a dark space. You know what I mean? She's always positive. She's always the life of the party. She literally exudes light when she walks into a room. And so to see that be dimmed and to see that be tainted was very hard. I couldn't fix it. And that was hard for me.
So with all that, and you mentioned something really important to be about how there's so much power in our tongue, no matter what we're going through, whether it's positive or negative. During that time, how do you feel like you actively were manifesting to come up out of the situation? What are the things that you did? Because there's some people out there that might be in a similar dark space now and feeling like Megan said, how you told her, like, I don't even want to open my eyes, or I can't face this, or I don't see how I can continue on. What are some things that you can tell people to do in that moment that can help
Yeah,
start to bring them out of that?
it was two things. The people I had around me. Megan talks about this all the time. We talk about village a lot. I will never forget these words Megan said to me, because I was so, it was my first time being crushed on the internet. I was always the black comedian, the funny girl on the internet. If you talking about funny black comedy, you gonna mention B.simone. I'm, we're the first generation millennials to do this shit. So it's like, I was just always loved. And of course you had 2% haters, but who cares when 98% is positive? Yeah. It flipped. 98% was negative in a matter of seconds. And I had never felt that before. And it was like, Megan was like, the truth is the truth. The truth is they don't know you. The truth is that you're not a plagiarist. The truth is, she just listed all of these truths. And I was like, it doesn't matter what they think. I know me. And stop putting your success or your happiness in the hands of man. What do you think about you? What does God think about you? Yeah. F what the internet thinks. Like, are you living righteously? Are you doing the best you can? And I was like, you know what? My heart is pure. So that kept me right in a right mindset. Like, okay, I know who I am. And Megan listed those truths. And also, man, every day, this is temporary. That I will never forget me saying that to myself over and over. And literally, I told myself every day, this is temporary. This is temporary. This is temporary.
Those are things that she said out of her mouth. Like, she never ended a conversation negative. It was never like, it was always, but this is going to end, but this is, you know what I mean? And I think it's very, very important. And going back to being intentional, even with your words, even when you're in a situation that feels like a storm that you can't get out of, you have to speak life into that situation and saying that no matter what, it's going to be okay. God has it covered, because before I was even formed in my mother's womb, he already saw this. Like, it's not a surprise for God. Yeah. We have to have trust and faith that no matter what, he already knew that this was going to happen, and he's going to see me through, just like he's seen me through every single thing else. You know what I mean?
And I truly believed it. People really don't believe they're going to make it out of those moments, out of that divorce, out of that miscarriage, out of that disease, out of that sickness, out of that. I believed it. I was like, this is temporary. I don't know when. I don't know how this is going to be over. I'm getting sued, lost, left, and like whatever. I don't need to know. I don't need to see the whole path. I just know the end result. This is going to be over one day. So I'm focusing on the ending, the happy ending. I'm not focusing on the negative path.
Yeah. I think that's key with manifesting too, and bringing it forward, whether it's something positive or trying to get yourself out of a negative situation. Sometimes we get so caught up worrying about how. And I think that's go back to your faith, the point of manifestation actually being faith. It's like, I have this desire in my heart, whether it's to get out of this situation, to be happier again, or to reach a goal of $1 million. This is what my desire is. I don't have to worry about how.
Focus on the desire. The how is going to come.
We talked about this at my house the last time that you guys were here. And I was talking about how our physical bodies have a negative response to anxiety, and we have a negative response to depression, right? Our bodies physically get either, our heart rate increases, our breath increases when we're anxious about something, which means that you're probably trying to place yourself in the future and figure something out in the future that you can't. Or when you're depressed, you're worried about something in the past, or you are holding on to something in the past. And the reason why we have a negative reaction to it is because we physically can't be in either place. I cannot be in the future, and I can't be in the past. So all I can do is submit my yes now and be intentional now,
right now,
and know that he has it all figured out. I can't worry about what he has covered in the past, and I can't worry about what he has for me in the future. If I trust him, I trust him. And I can't put myself in either place, because I'm never meant to be in either place. I'm meant to be where I am. All you have is where you are right now.
That's it.
And sometimes you have to stop and say, where am I right now? And am I being present and intentional in this moment right now? And when you do that, that will take care of itself. The word of God says that tomorrow will take care of itself. It ain't even, it's not even your business to worry about that.
Yeah.
It's not your
Yeah.
business. You
And I
just submit your yes to God.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you also said like in that moment, in those dark times, like you didn't avoid how you were feeling. Like you had a confidence, like you said with Megan, like you talked about how you're feeling. You told her how you were feeling, but at the end, like you didn't end on a negative. It's not, we're not saying with manifesting you can never have negative thoughts or you can never doubt yourself.
Yeah.
You can never have
Yeah.
fear. Those are all common feelings, and it's okay to feel them because we going through
You're
shit.
human. Yeah. You're gonna be sad. You're gonna have that little bit of anxiety or depression or negative thoughts or whatever, but it can't outweigh. You can't live there, right? It can't outweigh the positive. It's gonna be there. We're human. We have those moments, but it can't outweigh the
Your faith.
positive.
Or
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
faith.
Or
You know,
your faith. Yeah.
and I have a saying too that I always said, and I think I didn't realize how it tied into this, but it's like I get down, but I don't stay there. So it's like
Yep.
I might get down and because I'm down right now, I could talk to Megan, I could talk to B about whatever's going on, but I'm not gonna stay there. And at the end of the conversation, like you said, we're gonna will the positive over our life. We're gonna continue to have faith in that God is gonna bring us through it. I think that's important because sometimes people feel like you can't have one without the other. And like you said, I think it's about that balance, working together with it. Like I'm not ignoring my feelings, I'm not ignoring what I'm going through or suppressing it. I'm addressing it and feeling it, but coming out on top.
One thing that scripture that has really been like on me the last couple of weeks is a scripture in Corinthians where it talks about casting down imaginations and taking every thought in captivity to God. Like you have to take every thought that comes in here and make it submit to the word of God. Like whatever is going on in here, is it lining up with what my word says? Is it lining up with what God says about me? And if it doesn't, then we got to adjust some stuff because every single thought, whether good or bad, has to come into submission to God. And that's a hard thing to do because you have to practice that every single day. You have to consciously make an effort to
it's a practice.
Say, okay, these thoughts have to submit themselves to God. I can't allow these thoughts to just run loose, right? Because you can put yourself in a bad situation just allowing your mind to just wander. You have to submit those thoughts to God.
Oh my God.
You can go down. Oh my God. You can go down.
I was literally just thinking about chips. Now I'm about to jump. Like, where did these thoughts go? I just said I was hungry.
You got to filter. It's just like with the water filter. You know those things where you would put the sink water and then have the filter. It's like you got to purify those thoughts. You got to filter them through the
Take
word
out the bad shit.
And that starts with you putting yourself in a position to fill yourself up with the right things so that the wrong things don't even have room. I spend time with God, right? Every day, multiple times a day, because if I don't, I'm not going to make it out here. My mind isn't going to allow me to make it out here. So I have to constantly fill myself up with the things of God so that nothing else has room to enter in. Does that make sense? And the things that come out of me, because they're in me, they overflow out of me. So everything that I'm doing, hopefully it's some of that is spilling out. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Megan is a blogger, y'all. And go ahead, Megan, shout out your blog real quick.
So I have a blog, it's called Significant Pieces. And I started it really submitting my yes to God. I felt like it was something that I needed to do. And it's kind of just my experience with my son, Caleb, who is 8 years old, and he was diagnosed with autism when he was 2. And then when he was 3, he was diagnosed with Fragile X syndrome, which is a dysfunction in the X chromosome that doesn't allow the brain to produce the protein it needs for brain development. So I started this blog because I wanted to give representation of Black moms and Black families and Black children. And I don't feel like we always have a voice in a lot of things, and especially when it comes to children with disabilities. So it kind of just talks about my journey. It's not all, and you guys have read it. It's not if you don't have children, it still resonates. It really just talks
Yep.
about
Anybody can read it.
yeah, anybody
Anybody.
can read it. But it's a good way for me to kind of get it out, get my thoughts and feelings out. So
So, and you talk about submitting your yes to God when you started your blog. Do you feel like you manifested it in any way, or what did that journey look like? Were you fighting it? Because I talked about that
oh
one on here, how I've had this idea to do higher being and I wanted to talk or have these conversations and I kept putting it off for a year. I would start to feel anxious or depressed sometimes. And it was like I realized because you aren't doing what I told you to do.
mhm,
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
had a similar experience with starting significant pieces, how did that look for you?
yeah, it I have a hard time, and Braylon and I had this conversation not too long ago. And I was just not in a good headspace, and I finally found my words to articulate how I was feeling. But I trust myself to help other people, and I trust myself to do a good job when it comes to, like, working with B and doing my job. But I don't always trust myself with myself, and I don't know why I don't, but I don't. Um, and I think that disappointing myself was just so scary. And I fought it for a long time. I mean, I've had things written for years that I just would put out little snips on Facebook or Instagram, but I always was like impressed by God to like write and put it out there publicly and really just, expose my heart fully. And I put it off for a really long time. And it was really on Clubhouse, on your Clubhouse room, where I really
Yes.
yeah, it was Bree's Clubhouse room on Wednesday mornings when we were all obsessed with Clubhouse. And, a bunch of amazing, phenomenal women were in that room and they were like, do it. Like, I talked about how scared I was and, wanting to start this. And they were all just so encouraging and like, do it. Just don't worry about it. Just put it out there.
Put it
And I
out.
did. And it's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done because I've seen the messages that gotten from other mothers and people who are going through similar situations, and people who aren't going through exactly what I went through. People who are just like, yo, I needed to hear that. Like,
And they can
that
just
was,
relate. Yep.
yeah, like that touched me. Or like, I've had people DM me and say, I was literally like trying to commit suicide, and that popped up on my feed and that changed my life. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when God trusts you with that type of platform, no matter the size, it's just such an honor. And now it doesn't belong to me. It's not mine anymore.
Mm.
This is it never was mine. It was God's. You know what I mean? Like, this is
A
his.
vessel.
Yeah, I'm just a vessel and I'm just being used and submitting my yes. Um and it's just been so rewarding, and it's been healing for me in so many ways, like to get those messages and to, be able to impact even just one person. That's just been like amazing. So
Well,
Mm.
I'm super proud of you. I'm proud of you
So
'cause
proud of her.
thank you.
Been so
know,
consistent.
yes, keep
Thank you.
going. You know you got my full support, and I'm glad that you took that motivation too from the room. Because honestly, Meg, I feel like we were on that going through the same thing. With
Yeah.
Higher Being, I'm like, I want to use. I was telling in the first episode of Higher Being, I'm like, look, I have this platform on radio and even on social media where I can talk about who baby mama and baby daddy brought what, but I want to talk about things that can impact us or help make our lives better, help us grow into better people. And
Yeah.
so it was me fighting the same way you were, then being on Women Winning Together Wednesdays, and just that community, how we all were just like, no, do it and supporting each other. That gave
That
me,
was so important in that time. I felt like that was very needed.
yeah.
Very.
Crazy. Yeah.
Higher Being Society, a wellness brand and community, supporting your evolution into the best version of yourself. Shop our one-of-a-kind waist trainer, rib lining making for a comfortable fit and durable enough for your toughest workouts. Please visit my website, thehigherbeingSociety.com.
So if you are just joining us and don't know what manifestation is, I looked it up, and the Google definition is basically the idea that one can bring forth something into your life by focusing, believing, and attracting it. That is manifestation. So Megan, you talked about submitting your yes to God's
Mhm.
plan and His will over your life. When's the last time, or give us an example of a way you submitted your yes and also manifested something into your life?
So, if you guys don't know, I lived in Ohio. I'm from Ohio, lived there my whole life, and recently moved down to Atlanta August of last year. So I am not a person that is a very patient person. And because I'm not patient, God always puts me in opportunities and positions to be patient because I'm so impatient. So when we moved down here, I'm like, all right, we sold two houses in Ohio. We had two homes in Ohio. We sold those. I'm ready to buy a house here, and I'm ready to buy, the house that I want. I want it to be perfect. I wanted it to have this aesthetic. I wanted the kitchen to look a certain. I mean, I had it all figured out in my head what I wanted to look like, and we went through several houses, home searches. You go and you look at all these houses. And there was one home that we saw, and I'm like, oh, I love it. It's in the same school district that my aunt's house was in, where we were staying at until we find a home. And it was great. It was perfect. It had all the space, whatever. We put an offer in. They accept our offer, and then we go through the inspection. The inspection was so bad, we had to terminate the contract, and I was so upset. I'm like, oh, this was going to be like my dream house, right? Then we find another house, and we keep searching. We find another house. We get into contract, and then the appraisal doesn't come back right. So then we terminate that contract. So at this point, I'm just like, okay, God, like, I have three kids. I got two dogs. Like, we need space. I can't stay in my aunt's house forever. Like, what are you gonna do here? And so last minute, I found this house. I called our realtor, and I'm like, hey, can we go look at this house? So we come in the house, and it literally looks like the 90s, right? Like, this house is very old looking, the carpet and the yellow lighting. It was just like bad, right? And so, but it had the space that we needed. It had six bedrooms. It had the space we needed, right? It had a bar, and the basement was all finished and decked out with lights, and the refrigerators and everything was in the basement. And it had a stage, and it had a movie theater, and it was already ready. All we had to do was kind of tweak up some stuff, right? So we put an offer in. They accept our offer, and our plan was to just change the floors on the main level. We were going to change the floors on the main level, and we were going to paint the kitchen cabinets. That was it. So 2 days after we signed the mortgage, or not the mortgage, sign your paperwork to purchase the home, right? After we signed all of our paperwork, my husband and my uncle come to change out the toilets. And on the main level in our half bathroom, they went to pull the toilet out, and something popped, and it was a seal, and water went everywhere. I mean, like a fire hose. Like, it was just coming out nonstop for 20 minutes because we couldn't find where to turn the water off at, right? Um, and so I wasn't here when it happened. I called my husband for something, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, I can't talk. The house is flooded. I gotta go. And I'm like, wait, what house? I'm like, not the house we just bought. Like, are you crazy? Like, what? So I get in the car, I run over, get to the house, and there's water everywhere. I mean, like, when I say everywhere, all through the main level, water is running down to the basement. The ceiling tiles in the basement were crashing and falling on the floor. I mean, the walls, I mean, it was just a literal nightmare. Now, mind you, we have been here since August. It's now of this year.
Right.
August of last year was when and we've been wanting to get a house, signed for the paperwork, and 2 days later, floods. So we were
That ain't
obviously
part of the
like,
manifestation that I had, Lord.
what? I didn't see this coming. I'm like, well, what part is this? right? So I'm like, what part of the chapter did I must have like missed that part, right? So there's this place called a team or a company called Surf Pro, and they come out and they dry your house out. And in order to dry the house out, they have to cut, probably 2 feet up every wall to
Wow.
dry the house out, right? So I have about 48 fans, one of those big fans. I have 48 fans in my house now. It's about midnight at this point, and they're drying the house out. We're
Mhm.
in the basement, and the guy, the project manager, says, "I would really check your insurance because a lot of times this isn't covered.
Mm.
Like the damage isn't covered."
Yeah.
Just for them to dry the house out alone, just the drying out part was $70,000, right? Just
Right.
to dry it.
Not
And
even
that's like
put it
not
back.
to, not to fix anything. I mean, that's just to dry it. And
Right.
when water gets in your house, that's like a very like damaging thing. Like you have to rip up all this stuff, right? All the floors, everything. So my husband and I are sitting in the basement and we're just like stumped because in my head, I know my husband. And when they ask for extra warranties on anything, that man says no. Like he's not the man that says yes
Yeah.
to the extra coverage and all that stuff, right? So I'm like panicking because I'm like, oh, I know my husband, and I know he probably got the bare minimum on everything, right? And so we're laying in bed, and obviously we can't sleep because we're just freaked out and we don't know what's going to happen. And our agent can't get to us until the morning. And he kept telling me, he kept saying, he said, I know I said yes to everything. I know I said yes to everything. Like I know I said everything that she asked that I want covered. I said yes. I know I did. And I'm like, okay. So the next morning we get a call and our agent is like, you're covered for all of it. Don't worry about it. Every single thing is going to be covered in the house. And so obviously that took off a lot of pressure for us. But what God was showing me in that moment was how important your yeses are, how important it is to be intentional with your yes. And because my husband submitted the right yes to the right thing, we were able, not only did we, change the floors on the downstairs level like we said we were, we literally remodeled the entire home and didn't have to come out of pocket for anything. Brand new
Mm.
bathrooms, brand new floors, brand new, I mean, everything in my house is custom and exactly the way I had it in my head when we moved down here last year. And so for me to get this house, and when I first walked into it, I was just like, oh, it's okay. Like, let's just get, because it has the room that we need. And for God to flip that whole situation and give me exactly the things that I want was just like amazing. And it speaks to the character of God. He says that he'll do exceedingly and abundantly above all that you could ever ask or think. I wasn't even thinking or asking for all of this stuff when I came into this house. I was asking for floors and new toilets and maybe some paint on the cabinets. And God said, oh, don't worry, because you submitted your yes, right? And you were intentional about your yes. I'm going to go above and beyond what you thought you were going to get. And I'm going to give you exactly what you wanted and more. And that was so evident in my life. And now I get to sit, like right now I'm in my office that I designed myself, and I'm looking at my beautiful barn glass door that I wanted, and I didn't have to come out of pocket for anything. It was all covered, and God just really, really blessed us. We have a movie theater, my kids have their own room, we have so many like common spaces, and I'm just like so blessed, and God has just been so good to us. So
Yeah, for real.
that was my manifestation moment this year.
Amen to that. And I think, like you said, having the faith, even in the moment, like when you submitted your yes, like, do you trust me? Even though all of this is going on, do you trust that I'm going to pull you through and that you didn't make the wrong decision by getting this house? So
Yeah.
that's a testament
And
to,
not looking at everything that you see. Sometimes you gotta not look at the things that you're physically seeing, but you gotta look at the things that God has placed on your heart, and focus on those things, and not the physical things that are happening right now. And like you said, trust him that he's gonna work it all out. So
fact. Just to give you a little quick story, something I manifested. I feel like the last thing major that I manifested, I would say my relationship that I'm in now. I'm in a relationship coming up on when this airs, we will have been
here.
together a year. And I remember going through, it was right during the middle of the pandemic. I was going through a tough time as well. I'm in here by myself in the house alone. And I really realized how much I needed a partner and how ready I was in my journey to settle down. Cause I ain't gonna lie, I had been out here, living life single, as women do. I was Lori Harping it up, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I wasn't ready, but I went through a series of events in my life that I feel like prepared me and got my mindset ready for my partner. And during that season of, like I said, the quarantine, I broke I was actually going through something with my family, and I broke down crying and just praying to God, like, I need help. I not even I needed somebody to come lessen my load, but I just felt so lonely having to go through it alone. So I'm like, God, first let me find a comfort in you, but help me find my person. Like, I want to go through life with somebody. And I prayed for this person. This is before I ever met this person. I was praying like, God, my husband is this, and that. He is a man of God. He has these qualities. And I feel like from me willing that and like you said, speaking it, saying, hey, God, I am ready. This is what I want to do with the blessing when you give it to me. This is how I'm going to be faithful over it. I promise to trust you and hear you. And if it's not the right man, God, let me know when I'm meeting these men. You know what I'm saying? Show me first that whether he's walking by you or walking in alignment with the plan that you got for us. So I know that it's him, and I feel like I want to say like maybe like 60 days later, I already knew my boyfriend. We knew each other 2 years before, but that's when we started to date. Like it was crazy. Like we were just friends. And then all of a sudden the energy dynamic started to shift. And I really feel like that was manifesting, but also having faith in God that he's going to bring me the right person at the right time.
I love seeing y'all together. I think me and B were talking about this the other day. Y'all look like y'all have fun together, like y'all enjoy each other. And I love to see that because it's so important to be friends with the person that you do life with and your partner, because that friendship really can carry you through some of the challenges that relationships throw at you. And I really enjoy watching y'all together because y'all look like homies. Like,
Yeah.
I love, like, y'all are homies. Like, you can tell y'all really clown each other. Y'all
Right.
really have fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so, like, it energizes me. I love watching y'all together.
Thank you. That's a great compliment. I would definitely say we were friends 2 years before we ever got in a relationship. So at first it was kind of hard for me to go from the friend zone to because at first I even denounced it. I said, I always want you in my life, so I don't want to date you.
Yeah.
I already knew it was going to end bad, but it was like, no, have faith. And I think he did a lot as a man to show up and consistently show me that our friendship is what matters first too. So like you said, it helps because
it helps.
Yeah.
It helps. And it's very magnetic. Like, you can feel it when you guys are around. It's very, very, like, it's beautiful. And it's like I said, it energizes me. Like, it makes me excited about love, and it makes me excited for you guys. So I love it.
I found this Christian-based blog. It was called findingthejoywithin.com. Check it out. Y'all want to. Not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm gonna tell y'all what she said. The 5 reasons that manifestation and law of attraction is not godly. And I'm gonna tell y'all the reasons, and then we can say what we think or go back.
It says it's not godly.
Not.
Yeah.
Somebody said that's why they were like, that's why your book failed, because you're worshiping manifesting and not God.
Yeah. No, I don't.
I was like, oh my God.
Like
okay.
Y'all know what God plan was. Like, no. Like you said, I feel like it didn't. First of all, it didn't fail. You sold thousands of copies and made a lot of money off of that book, so it wasn't a flop. It didn't fail. And then, secondly, I think that, like you said, you can't say what God is going to use to teach you certain lessons.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't pick and choose.
I'm like, whatever you want to call it.
You cannot pick and choose.
Manifestation to me is having faith and believing. That's literally what it is.
Right. So,
but I want to hear what this blog says.
Yeah, according to findingthejoywithin.com, she says the 5 reasons manifestation and law of attraction is not godly. Number 1, it ignores the sovereignty of God. Number 2, the manifester then becomes their own God. Number 3, it robs you of the gift of waiting. That patience that Megan was talking about. Number 4, God gets 0 praise when we get what we want. Because we'd be like, oh, I manifested it, so. And number 5, we will create idols out of the things that we are desiring, that we're trying to manifest. So let's talk
Well,
about.
at this point, you're making shit up, ma'am, because ain't none of those got nothing to do with the way I manifest. You hear me?
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
has a choice, and like you have a choice whether you give God the glory or not. Like I believe that every good and perfect thing comes from God. So anything good that happens in my life, automatically the
Automatically.
glory goes to God. So that really just depends on who you are as a person. If you don't have a relationship with God, then yes, obviously, if you're just believing that you or yourself are manifesting these things, you yourself are producing all these great things in your life, then yes, you yourself will become an idol. But if you are having a conscious thought that every good and perfect thing comes from above, then when I have my heart, first of all, the word, this is stuff that gets me riled up.
Rile it up, baby, because I don't know the scripture. I just know the word says.
right.
The tongue.
The
power
word
in the
of God,
tongue.
the word of God says that he will give you the desires of your heart, right? And so a lot of times we think that we have the desires and then he gives it to us, but I have always interpreted as he will plant those desires in our heart. And I believe he does that because he has a purpose and a plan for our lives. And once he places those desires in our hearts, then we pursue those desires and accomplish the plan and purpose that he has for our lives, right? So
Yeah.
if he is placing those desires in my life, then I believe that when I am wanting these things, they're coming from God. Obviously, now there are things that we do want that we probably don't need, right?
Of
Like I'm not
course.
talking about a Louis bag or a trip to Dubai. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying the things that God really has for you, I believe he plants those things in your heart. And so when those things manifest, then if you are consciously thinking and believing that every good and perfect thing comes from God, then automatically
You know where it comes from.
where it comes from, he gets praised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what's your source?
And you said that, like, and as watching your journey too, you've always given glory to God whenever you
Always.
your milestone. And you said something very important in here that I think also combats what she said. In the beginning of the interview, you were like, I don't worship no thing. And I'm like, I'm manifesting this. Like, you are worshiping
Right.
God and praising God and asking him to will these things into your life.
And
So
literally manifestation to me is as simple as being positive. That is literally it.
optimistic.
Having a positive mindset, having positive words come out of your mouth, and focusing on a goal.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not we're not doing wizardry. Like, we're not over here mixing chicken feet in a pot.
Right.
Like, it's literally walking in faith. That is literally what manifestation is. Walking by faith, not by sight, and focusing on the things you desire to fulfill your purpose in life. And those things, whether it's like you said, Brie, your relationship, your career, the $1 million journey, the me not wanting me saying I want to be in arenas, and then getting a call and saying, okay, you're about to go on tour with Martin Lawrence. I don't think the manifestation gods made that happen. Jesus Christ made that happen. Like, God himself made that happen. And once again, I grew up Christian, but I'm more spiritual. I'm not super stoic on religion. I know my relationship with God. So I think people take it with a grain of salt, y'all.
Yeah,
walk in faith. Like, walk in faith, be positive. You're manifesting.
Okay. What were you about to say, Megan?
I was just saying, what's your source? Like, I think that's the thing that's important is like, what is your source? Like, what do you filter your life through? And for me, I filter my life through God, and I try my best to filter my life through his word and my relationship with him. And if whatever you want to call it, faith, you want to call it manifestation, it doesn't matter. Like, if my source is God, my source is God. That's just how, like, I don't, I feel like
whatever your source is. Yeah.
And overcomplicate. I think it's very hard too for a lot of Christians to explain things in a way that it's practical and it makes sense. Like, if manifestation is the thing that makes sense to them, then let that make sense to them. If it's filtered by God, then whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why are we trying to get caught up in the semantics of, oh, now you manifested that and you didn't. It's like, what?
Yeah. And I think, like you said, so just to wrap it up for our audience, so they can actually have actionables and things that, like you said, make sense that they can take and implement into their daily lives. And feel free to take this advice. It's advice. We're not telling you what to do with your life. But basically from this conversation, you guys are saying, one, always give God the praise, give him the glory, give him the credit when you do reach these accomplishments. Try to stay in alignment with him and his plan. Megan mentioned giving him will, and giving him yes over your life on a
Yeah.
daily basis. On
Yeah.
a daily basis.
Let your will be
Sometimes
done. You
minute
got
by
to,
minute. Sometimes it's minute by minute, depending on, you know, what you go through. Sometimes it's
yeah.
like, for me, I've had days where it's like hour by hour.
Right.
I'm struggling over here, God, and,
Yep.
you know.
And then with B said, like, staying positive, having those positive thoughts, because those thoughts are the birth and the seed of our actions, of our feelings, of our emotions. So, and our tongue, having that, staying positive and being optimistic, like B said, always. And then making sure that we're mindful of our words with our power of our tongue. That's in the Bible, power of the tongue, being, having positive outlook, those things. So, how do you think that we can continue to, you guys can both give me your input on this. How do you think we can continue to, one, hold ourselves accountable and stay in alignment with God's plan, so we make it easier for ourselves? We talked about the free will, God giving you the free will. How do we continue to be in alignment with his plan and work with him to manifest things that he has for us?
I think it's the focus. When you find your purpose, your purpose can change. I don't have any kids right now. I don't have a husband. When I get married and have kids, part of my purpose is going to be a wife, to be a mother. Your purpose changes as you grow and stuff. But I had this conversation with Megan. I just did 4 shows in Washington. We had 2 shows on Friday, 2 shows on Saturday. And Megan said, because I don't get discouraged. I get lazy. It's not even like I'm in a depression or I'm in a rut. It's like, okay, I accomplished something, I can chill for a month. No, you can't. Like, oh, I just went on tour with Martin Lawrence, I'm about to sleep this week. No, like, don't get comfortable. I get comfortable very quick. I go through seasons where 3 months going hard. The next 2 months, I'm like, vacay and chips, get nap time. Yeah. So I think the consistency is lacking. And Megan told me, let's get back to your question, Bree. I've dealt with this my whole career, just being consistent. Megan said, you have to remember, like, that feeling and that why and that purpose. Like, it's bigger than you. This has nothing to do with you. When those girls are in line crying and you're speaking, I'm finding more of my purpose and my voice on stage. Mm-hmm. See, at first stand up, it was just the basic, okay, the sex jokes, the white people jokes, the stuff. I just need to make them laugh. I'm not even telling my story, right? Now my stand-up is molding more into who I am. And that's molding more into my purpose. And I'm starting to see, like, this ain't got shit to do with you. Megan said, when you're sleepy, when you're lazy, when you're tired, when you're not going to the gym, you need to focus on the purpose. And the purpose and the goal is way bigger than you. It's not about B.simone anymore. It's about all of these people that follow you, all of these people that are coming out to you, all these people that are crying. Just like Megan said on her blog, the people that are like, I was about to commit suicide and I saw your blog. Yeah. This ain't got shit to do with Megan Brooks.
Right.
Like, it's how we're using our platform. So I think when people say, what's your why? What's your why? What's your why? You have to go back and remember that. Like, I'm walking in my purpose because God has placed this on my life. It has nothing to do with me anymore, and really trying to hone in and focus on that and remove yourself from the flesh, outside of the platform and the this and the that. And, oh, this is fun. Yeah. But it's also like, you're helping people in a certain way that God is using you, like you said, a vessel. So focusing on that.
Yeah.
What about you, Megan? What are some things that you think we could do to continue to align ourselves with God's plan?
I think proof of desire is in the pursuit, right? So, like, if you really desire to have a healthy relationship with God, to see and manifest some positive things in your life, I think you really have to actively pursue your relationship with God on a daily basis. And it can't be something that's an option. You know what I mean? Like, it has to, I got to a point where it was life or death. This isn't a game at this point. It's literally life or death. And there was a time that I wasn't actively pursuing my relationship with God. And I got myself in some really bad places. Like, I mentally, spiritually, emotionally, relationships weren't great. My marriage wasn't great. And now that I have made it a commitment to actively pursue my relationship with God every day, I've seen that I have more peace. You know, not every day is perfect, obviously, but I have more peace. I have more I have more power in who I am and the things that I believe. And I just think that that's important. Like you have to make it a part of your, like it's like blinking. It has to be like breathing, like your relationship with God. I talk to God all the time, all day. Everywhere I am, I'm having a conversation with him. Everything that I'm doing, I'm communicating with him in some type of way, and it places me in a position to be aware of him, to hear him, so that way when I am submitting my yes, I know I'm submitting my yes to him and submitting my yes to the things that he wants me to submit it to. But if you're not putting yourself in that position, you'll miss it. And that's my biggest
You
fear.
won't know when you're going to hear his voice. You have to know.
I don't ever want to miss where he's moving. I don't ever want to miss where he's what he's saying to me. I want to be so, my mother used to tell me, she said, you got to be so aware and in tune with God that if he tells you to turn left, you turn left. Like driving, like you got to be that tuned in. And that's always been like, that's my goal. Is like I want to always know where he's moving and what he's saying. I don't ever want to miss an opportunity. I just don't.
And I think the biggest thing for me is being obedient. Like you said, when you hear it, we be hearing it. There's plenty of times I heard guys say don't, and I still did because I thought, well, maybe it'll turn out like this, or maybe, you know. But being obedient, because every time I am obedient and I listen to him, I feel like his voice gets louder and clearer. So every time I was disobedient, it made it fainter and harder to hear. So
you want to know why, Bree? Because when you hear it closer, it's when he's nearer. That's where he's near. And when you're like, oh, it's so far away, it's because you have, right? The Bible says that our steps are ordered, right? So if you are constantly making efforts to take a step towards him, the easier you are to hear him, the clearer his voice becomes. But when you are not making those conscious steps, you're
moving away.
Then you're moving further away. It's hard to hear. It's hard to see if he's moving. It's hard to see if he's waving his hand like go this way or go that way, because you're so far removed, you can't see it, you can't hear it. But when you're making those conscious efforts to step closer to him and submit your yes to him, then that voice is clearer. It's right.
You're so close.
Yeah, hold tight. Speak up, Lord. He like,
he's like, I'm not moving.
Right. Come talk to me. I've been in the same spot. I'm not moving further away.
Yeah.
You moving.
You're the one moonwalking.
Yeah.
moonwalking all the way back.
No, y'all, this has been amazing. I really want to thank you guys for sharing y'all energy with me today, y'all expertise, y'all experiences, you know, some of the things that were near and dear to y'all. Thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all for being on here with Higher Being Society. You guys let them know where they can find you guys, follow you guys, and everything that you have coming up.
Yes, I'm on tour. We're doing spot days. I have a lot of different dates coming up. You can check them out on my Instagram, the B.simone. And yeah, just follow me.
And don't forget to shop B.simone Beauty, because I'm wearing clear baby girl right now with the brown liner. What's the name of the brown liner?
Oh, CEO or Time will tell.
I think it's CEO. I'm wearing CEO with the clear diamond lip gloss. So make sure y'all. Hey,
so I can post it.
And Meg, what you got coming up? What you got going on?
You guys, and if you want to follow me, you can follow me on.
She's like, if you want to see my pictures. Nah, you follow her, you gonna get that word.
For real.
No, I do write really long captions. It's like part of who I can't help it. Every time I try to do something small, it never comes out that way. But then obviously follow Significant Pieces. I promise you, you will not read a blog that won't resonate with you. That's why I call it. Because there's a piece of something in every blog that will resonate with you that's significant for your life. And yeah, it's an outlet, and I think I've been able to give language to a lot of people's hearts, and that's been it's been amazing. So I would love for you guys to follow that.
Yay.
Shout out to y'all. I feel like y'all are day ones of the Higher Being Society. You know, y'all was on
gang.
This is our gang set. So it's like the H like Houston, and then it's a B like blood, but we making it HB Higher Being. So thank you all for tuning in. If you aren't doing so, make sure you follow Higher Being Society on all social media platforms. Make sure you subscribe to our channel to catch more videos and interviews like this, and stay elevated.